Michael Carnevale is Grant Manager and Financial Advisor. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, 400 Southbridge Street in Auburn, Massachusetts, 1-800-657-9126. A member of FINRA SIPC and are not deposits, not insured by FDIC or any governmental agency, not guaranteed by Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank, and subject to risk, may lose value. Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank is not affiliated with Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated. The information contained in this report does not purport to be a complete description of the securities markets or developments referred to in the material. The information has been obtained from sources considered to be reliable, but we do not guarantee that the foregoing material is accurate or complete. Any information is not a complete summary or statement of all available data necessary for making an investment decision and does not constitute a recommendation. Any opinions are those of Michael Carnevale and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. Expressions of opinion are as of this date and are subject to change without notice.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Richard Morco, and with me is Michael Carnevale, and we are doing conversations with the Long Hill Report, and every month, usually, Mike gives us what happened at the end of what was the result at the end of last month. However, between the end of July and today, excitement happened, and Mike will speak to that.
Well, we had a little bit of a drop in the market.
A little bit, just a wee bit. As Monty Python said,
yes.
Just a whiff.
Right. That dropped 1,000 points on one day. That was actually the 12th biggest daily point decline in history. Now, it didn't make the top 25 percentage declines for a day, but point-wise, it was the 12th biggest.
12th biggest.
Of course, that brought out all the fears of, well, is it a recession? Is the economy bad? This is to including that this is the end of the world. And as people were panicking or very, very nervous, I kind of looked back and said, because this was the worst day since September of 2022. So that must mean it's really bad. So I looked back and I said, well, let's see what's happened since September of 2022. The Dow has had an average annualized gain of 10.4%, including that daily 1,000-point decline. So, if you think this is the beginning of the end, I would kind of say, yeah, we've seen this before. Out of the blue, you get a big drop, and in short order, it's forgotten.
I would say I tend to agree with you. I look at everything through, generally speaking, the prism of inflation. And so much of the gain, or in fact, since Nixon closed the gold window, I'd say most gains are inflation. You'd disagree. But I knew, and I can't blame you for it, but I knew that when I would ask you to address this at the beginning, I was basically listening to Mike singing, "Everything is beautiful in its own way." And I think you've got to go into the recording studio.
I don't have a voice, though.
Well,
although I have a voice, but I don't know if it would sell anything.
Well, has anybody ever told you that you don't? Has Mom or anybody ever said, "Oh, kid, give it up"?
No.
No. So how do you know you don't have a voice?
I can tell.
How can you tell? See, you're always confident about everything.
In the privacy of your own home, you learn a lot of things.
And did you record yourself in the privacy?
No.
So you just sang in the shower?
Okay. Well,
and nobody complained?
No, because the door was closed, a fan was on, and and running water kind of drowned out a lot of it.
Why do you think your voice is bad? Why do you think you're always right about this stuff?
Oh,
Why do you think your voice is bad?
I wouldn't say I'm right about this stuff. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
wait,
I
wait,
think
my pacemaker.
I'm just saying. People are too short, focus on the short term, and you forget what happened. You know, if you know, and you know, there was a bit of, no, I wouldn't say panic, but a lot of people were really concerned. Oh, this is the beginning of the end, right? And we've seen this so many times before that if you bet on any one time being the end, you would be out of the game by now because you would have lost everything. I mean, at some point, yeah, things are gonna, the business cycle, the market cycle, you know, goes up and down. At some point, yeah, it's going to be mean more than just a one-day decline. But if you've been betting on those big daily drops as being the beginning of the end, you'd be out of the ball game by now because you would have nothing. So I don't think this is anything different than a one-day panic.
I tend to think at this point you're more or less correct. I obviously believe that we are on the long decline, but it's not, you know, it's not where you abandon ship. And you know, we'll know, you know, 10 years from now if a bagel at Dunkin' Donuts costs $50.
Mm-hmm.
We'll know that.
Right.
We'll know that. But,
Right.
I remember when you could get donuts or a bagel or anything like that for a quarter.
Yeah.
Tells you how old I am. But yeah, so the decline is on my view, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
The decline is ongoing, but it's not at a rapid, unbelievable speedy pace.
Yeah.
And when it gets that, when you know, if tomorrow it's $50 for a bagel,
Yeah.
yeah,
then
we'll
yeah.
know. But
Correct.
it isn't probably going to be.
No.
No, that's
No.
week and a half away.
Right.
Anyway, so speaking to July, tell us all the wonderful things about July then.
Well,
Why
we know, at least historically, July is a pretty good month. It ranked 4th of the 12. The last 9 Julys were up, and 11 of the last 13 were up. And so going into it, we said, pretty good month. And, you know, lo and behold, July was positive. So it's been 10 straight Julys that have been up.
Okay.
And it was up big. It was up 4.4%, which is, you know,
That's good. That's healthy.
market, a couple other things happened. Market crossed 41,000. And there were 3 all-time closing highs during the month. So it was a pretty good month.
Well, yeah, 4.4. I mean, we discussed your singing ability before we started this. I'm guessing when you saw 4.4, you were dancing.
Yes.
How's your dancing?
On par with my singing.
No.
Yes.
I kill the man who says it.
As somebody would say, there's something wrong with that guy.
You know,
He's not normal.
well,
And they'd probably be
well,
right.
can you define normal?
No, really.
So how do you know you're not normal?
You know, I mean, you know, it's sort of like there are certain things you do and certain things you don't do. And the 2 things you don't do is you don't sing and you don't dance.
You.
Yes.
You're saying
No,
you.
no, no, no. I'm saying myself.
Well, I say there's certain things I don't.
Well, there's certain
So
things.
why
that
do you say?
Well,
Well, do we have to get a dance-a-thon going here?
where's the piano? I don't hear the piano music.
Well, instead we're bringing the bagpiper in.
Okay. All right. Well, that could
But
be
you
the
know,
end.
as they say in Scotland, the jig is up.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
I
boy.
hurts myself. I hurt myself.
Yes.
All right.
So it was pretty good. I mean, it was a pretty good month. Interest rates fell a little bit. They've fallen a lot more since the end of the month, since the end of July. Yield curve was inverted, not as bad as it was the prior month. And we're now into August, and August is usually not a good month, and it's starting off that
Boy,
to be
yeah,
on the downside.
Started off with a bang.
Yep, yep.
Okay. So we can move into the technicals.
Yeah, the technical indicators based on, you know, at the end of July to the first week in August, a lot has really changed. So some of these numbers, you know, are not as accurate as you would think they would be. But the New York Stock Exchange moving average keeps going up. That's a sign that, you know, prices, at least in the short term, are kind of high. The volatility index, which has been low for a long time, under 20. It ended July at 16, but that was up from 12 at the end of June. But during that 1,000-point down day, the volatility index got up to 95.
For an hour and a half.
Right, and now it's in the low 30s. So that's a good sign. Means there's some fear in people, and usually that happens after prices have dropped. That stochastic oscillator, that got to overvalued, which is a reading of 80 or above, just before the market had that 1,000-point drop. So that's come back down a bit. And that catch-all index that covers a lot of different items, fear and greed index, is about where it was a month ago in the fear category. So overall, the technical stuff, you know, doesn't look bad.
So people might be saying, hey, maybe it's time to take out those few dollars I put away and
Might
go
be.
along in something.
Might be. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, Powell's testimony, oddly enough, I was coming up, driving here, and who was on the radio? America's most famous Karen, Liz Warren.
Okay.
And she was going, and she held forth that Powell should have dropped the rate, but he didn't.
No.
He said inflation is falling, but he's not confident it will reach the 2% goal.
Right.
Hey, Powell, you think?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the reasons, you know, they're holding off, is because it had been, the rate of increase had really been falling, but then it bumped up a little bit. And now it's kind of in that 3.5 annualized area, which is probably, at least based on everything they're talking about, too high. Eventually, they're going to have to raise rates whether they want to or not. Cut rates. I just want to make sure you were listening.
What?
The hearing aid.
What'd you say?
So that we can check off the box. The hearing aid is turned on. No.
I hear you.
Okay. They're going to have to cut rates because more and more countries are cutting rates.
Okay.
And so they'll be forced to do something.
Well,
and
what countries was it says you got here that the Eurozone, they didn't?
no,
Canada.
but Canada did cut.
Is that a country?
Did cut? Yes. Well, it's a subsidiary of the U.S.
Yeah. As they said, it's America's hat.
Right. Right.
So what other countries cut
Well, Switzerland has cut a couple of times.
in this past month?
In the past 2 or 3
Well,
months.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, there was not.
How's ancient
there was-
history there?
There's not much action in the month
Okay.
of July.
How about Mexico?
No,
And the big question, Turkey.
nothing.
Nothing?
Turkey has been silent.
Turkey.
Yeah. Yep, it has been silent.
Can you name another country that cut? Off the coast of Europe, to the left of France? They're not in the Eurozone.
You're talking Spain?
Brits, the Brits.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah.
Off the coast.
Okay.
If you
Yes.
notice, if
Okay.
you ever saw a map, France connected to Spain.
Yes, well, it
It's-
is on the coast. It is, technically it is off the coast.
No, it's not off the coast. It's with the coast. It's in
Well,
the coast.
Yes,
Off
yes.
the coast means it's separate.
Okay.
I don't like, we're going to lose confidence in you.
Okay, all right. It's a time of day.
So now getting to it, did the Brits do anything?
They did, yeah.
They cut.
The Bank of England did cut.
Okay, yeah.
They
Just-
cut,
just,
though,
try
it
to
was-
pull his teeth.
But
to
it was
get
this
the
month they cut, in August.
cut. Oh, so they've just cut. They
They
didn't
just
cut in July.
They didn't cut in July because, there was talk because they got that election. And
Okay,
they
right,
probably were going to cut, but, they didn't want, most likely didn't want to do it
How's
during
Armenia
the election.
doing? Let's get, other countries that you don't hear from.
Yeah, no, we don't hear from them.
No.
No.
Okay. All right, and we don't really follow Cuba.
No.
No. Okay. All right. So the Brits did well, not really cut, but then they did cut.
They did cut in August.
Okay, so-
Yeah.
It's like extracted.
Yeah, okay. But, oil's down again,
I noticed that.
mid-70s.
It could be a little lower at the pump.
It could be. It doesn't seem to be affecting the price at the pump.
No.
It's
Which,
surprise, surprise.
All right. 13.3, all-time high.
Yep.
Drilling rigs, 589. Okay, so that's less rigs, but more oil.
Mm-hmm.
How you do that?
Trying to figure out energy is one of the great mysteries, right?
Yeah.
You got record oil production, yet the price at the pump is barely budging. So
Well,
we will find the answer when the energy companies report their earnings
okay,
in billions.
in billions. What are the poor people doing?
Right. Right.
All right, now getting to inflation, mixed results.
Right.
June consumer prices down 0.1%. Now that's a real decrease.
That is
That's
a real
not,
decrease.
That's not only, the rate of increase is down.
Right. That's a real
Somebody
decrease.
has occasionally said to me, but I will name no names.
Okay.
All right,
But yeah, the rate of increase, prices actually fell in June. That long term is not good.
now core, core was up.
Right. And that's the one the Fed looks
So
at.
it's kind of
because
a wash.
mixed.
there.
Yeah, well, that's why I said mixed results.
Does that say wash?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of wash, okay.
Yeah. But
Getting a straight answer sometimes hurts.
but it's averaging around 3.5% a year.
And
which is-
producer prices.
Yep, same thing. Those rose a little bit.
So mixed.
Mixed.
Okay. All right. Well, is that what some of that what Powell based?
I think that was some of what he had said about why not rushing to cut rates, because there is still some, uncertainty whether it's really gonna, if this is really a bottom or this is just sort of like a plateau before it starts to head back up again.
So if you don't cut rates, well, we should see inflation continue,
It could.
and he's hoping. And I would say the Biden the future Harris administration probably wants him to keep the rates up too.
It could be.
But I think for that, it's the boat is sailed. We don't have enough time.
Right.
But we get to leading economic indicators.
There was that 1 month in February that looked like things had turned, but just a one time indicators were down 0.2 in June. That was better than the negative 0.5 in May, but and the last 6 months have been better than the prior 6 months. But it's been now 4 months in a row where where that indicator has been negative. So that you know brings recession odds higher. A lot of firms have been increasing their odds of a recession. Just today, J.P. Morgan upped their odds to 40% from 35. So that's something. That's an indicator to watch.
Well, if Trump was, and I know they're screaming out there when I say it, if Trump is a truly evil man, and I know there's people screaming out there, he would be praying for big time stagflation.
Right.
And we shall see. That could eventuate.
It could.
But of course, how many months have we been at an inverted yield curve?
Year and a half, 2 years.
And so this inflation should have started a year ago.
Correct. Right. And when the market really tanked that day, 1,000 points, the yield curve actually became positive, but just for a few hours.
Yeah, well.
And then it is now back to being inverted.
Okay.
Well,
maybe that having a revert, we could call it.
You're right. It could.
Maybe that changes everything.
It might.
Well,
you don't know.
I thought we'd get the word from you ex cathedra.
Oh, no. No.
You're really Mr. Out on a limb, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, trying to get back in here. So in the attempt to do that, jobless claims,
Okay.
Still relatively low based on historic numbers. And I think that's a big thing, the jobless claims and 235,000 layoffs last week. A year ago, 231,000. 4-week average, which a lot of people look at, 235,000. So it's been pretty stable. And at least historically, you need 250,000 or more layoffs weekly to begin to hurt the economy. So, as bad as people say things are, and I would disagree, it's not being reflected in jobless claims.
Well, I did see an article that said the reason why all these companies are telling people to come back to the office is they want them to quit so they don't have to lay them off. So that's
That would make
kind of a
sense.
phantom
Yeah.
layoff statistic there.
But the other thing, though, that is interesting is the size of the labor market is a lot larger than it was 25 years ago. And to still have this number of layoffs so low, I mean, it's got to be a positive.
Again, everything.
Well,
But I can't, if you take things in percentages of much, this is if it's in the same percentage as it was 25 years ago,
right.
even though the numbers are different,
Right.
I can see your point.
Yeah, the number should be twice this, and it's not. Employment report, 42nd straight monthly jobs gained. Month of June, 206,000. Historically, the economy needs 150,000 to grow the economy. And as usual, it was healthcare that was the big job creator. But construction also was second biggest, which is a good sign. Manufacturing, which had gained jobs the prior 2 months, lost some jobs in
Which
June.
isn't a good sign.
That's not a good sign. No. And the size of the labor force grew. And that's always a good sign, because history shows people don't enter the labor force unless they're, number one, think they can get a job, or two, they're somewhat optimistic of the future. So the fact that the size of the labor force increased by as much as it did, you know, no one indicator means anything, but, you know, collectively it's again another positive as opposed to a negative.
Well, last month, to be a complete wise guy, I brought up that the openings surged, and we discussed this, driven entirely by government jobs. I would say if healthcare, that can be often government,
It can be,
but construction
is not,
generally speaking,
is not. Yeah.
The other thing I brought up on that foreign-born workers provided almost all of the employment gains last month, or the month before. We don't have a figure on a breakout of foreign-born workers versus born here.
Oh, it's probably in the.
Yeah, but you don't have it broken out.
I don't have it broken out.
Okay.
No, that report that
And we don't have what do you call it? Part-time versus full-time either.
full-time, well, part-time or temp jobs did decrease last month,
That is interesting.
and unemployment, wages rose quite a bit, 0.4%, and probably one reason the Fed may not be looking to not have cut rates to this point is wage growth is now higher than inflation over the past 12 months. Consumer prices are up about, in the low threes, 3.2 or 3.3%. Wage growth over the past 12 months is up 3.9%. So that is
Which
maybe.
means we have to squeeze some people out of the job market.
Well,
which is basically the system.
Well, and rising wages are a big contributor to inflation.
Inflation. Yeah, we got to stop those workers getting their own.
So ideally, you'd want to see wages growing with inflation. When it grows more than inflation, that is potentially added inflation pressure, and probably why the Fed is not.
How does the Fed feel when wages drop?
Well, that's not good.
Well, I mean,
Falling prices and falling wages are obviously not good.
well,
You need a certain.
when was the last time you saw falling prices?
According to what's typed here, month of June, they fell 0.2%. But no, right, they never do.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they do during deep recessions.
Deep recessions.
Right. I think if you look at 1973, 1974, the prices were falling then.
How about 2008? Was that considered a recession? Well, that was called the Great Recession.
Right.
What did they do then?
That I can't recall.
You're younger than I am.
Yeah, but this is sort of like, you can, well, that's not dementia, right? Dementia, you recall, oh, that is. Okay, well, then in that case, we'll move.
I knew him when he was fully functioning.
We'll move on. Although I may qualify to run for president. So
There you go.
Right.
Well, you can actually qualify to resign from president.
Oh, okay.
But you have to have been first eventual in the presidency
Yes.
to then resign
To
because
be
of
able to
dementia.
resign. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, and if you watch this recently, it was a one-day occurrence. One
Correct.
day, he
Right.
was the wisest man who ever walked the face of the earth, according to Joe Scarborough. And then the next day,
It all fell apart.
whatever happened to this guy? I knew him when. That was yesterday.
Probably going to loosen his belt. But no, I think, as far as the market goes, nothing's really changed. It's still, there's nothing that, you look at these indicators and whatnot, there's nothing there that, or the technical side or the economic indicators, nothing there that stands out and says, oh, wait a minute, you know.
Oh, what was the big drop? Was it 80s? I mean, you're probably too young to remember. Well, of course, the dementia wasn't taking hold then.
Right.
But was it 87 or?
Yeah.
Where it was one day and everybody was saying, do I have enough height here to kill myself when I jump out the window?
Yeah. Black Monday, it was on
Black
October
Monday.
of 87.
That was ephemeral. That was one day, boom, bang.
And
that was
recovered.
That was huge.
That was,
and it was such a tiny amount compared to today.
right. That was percentage-wise.
At that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now we're talking about, 1,000-point swings, but on a percentage basis, it's...
It's not really that much more than 87, and so it's, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the people who say that the fall is coming, the fall in the market, that is.
Oh, we're not having a fall?
No, the actual
autumn,
fall is...
We're calling off autumn?
Yeah, it comes usually now in December rather than in
What an age we're
mid-September.
living in.
Yeah, it's a marvelous times, right?
Okay, the fall. People are predicting the fall.
People have been predicting that for so long that, as I said earlier, if you follow that thinking, you'd be out of the game now. You'd have missed so much. And the sad part about it is, a lot of people have missed it. I mean, Dow's at 40,000 plus, S&P's at 5,200 or something, right? So people you should be doing pretty good, right? But unfortunately...
we've reached a time, and I know that we can almost hear Mike singing, "Everything is beautiful."
Well, I'd say things are pretty good.
We've had Mike Carnevale. Thank you. This is Richard Morrow, Conversations with Long Hill Report. Thank you very much.